Before this podcast episode begins, we're giving a quick content note. You're going to be hearing from our member, Leanne Britt, who came to visit Street Parking headquarters to do this week's vault workout. Leanne has been a member since December of 2020. Some of you may recognize her name from the Members Only Facebook group and are familiar with her story, which includes the loss of a child. We are deeply honored to be part of Leanne and her son Elijah's story. Members who may be sensitive to the topic of loss of a loved one, please take note.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Street Parking Podcast. We are here with another episode for one of our members who is here to do one of the final vault workouts with us. She's part of the final group that's here with us, Miss Leanne Britt. Leanne's story is probably one of the stories within the street parking community that has impacted me personally the most. And that's saying a lot because we see a lot of stories. And it's not just the story of what she has gone through in the last little bit herself, but just seeing her as a human and how she has responded and reacted to it that has impacted me quite a lot. And I know if any of you have followed along or if you're a part of the Facebook group or have seen some of her posts, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and we'll talk about it a little bit. And so this episode is really special to me, and I know to a lot of the people in the community, especially any parents with young children are going to really want to check this one out because one of the most important things for us with street parking is providing tools as much as we can online to support people through the reality that is life. And it's not always like the Julian versus Miranda challenge and we're wearing masks and all of that, which might be a tool that helps you during certain things, even if your life is really challenging at the time. But recognizing that people have these seasons and these stages and these really hard situations that they go through in life, and trying our best to support through our messaging and the tools through that. And so I think sharing those real life stories and not just sharing success stories of weight loss and kind of like the more surface stuff is so important. So I'm really excited to talk to Leanne. I have my tissues ready. I almost started crying already during just the intro and I haven't even said anything yet. But Leanne has been a member since September of 2019. She is a senior master sergeant in the Air Force who is going to be able to retire actually pretty soon. She's already been in 19 years from Maryland. Mm-hmm. So welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I forgot to tell you before we started recording that we can't say what your workout is because this comes out before your workout. Right. So we can talk about how you're feeling about it and all of that stuff. You haven't done it yet. Sometimes when we record these podcasts, the podcast comes after the person's done their workout. Sometimes it's before. You have not yet done yours.
Yep.
But without saying what it is, how are you feeling about it?
I guess I'm a little bit nervous. Some movements that I don't normally tend to do at home. So I might switch it up a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know you're going to do the workout with DH. He's also nervous about it. And it's got an element that everybody is always like, where we take a little bit of your strategy away from you and force you into something that you might not normally do. So I'm excited to watch you guys do that. So you're in the Air Force. Mm-hmm. You've been in, pretty much your entire adult life. You've been in the military.
Yep.
And what brought you to that? Why did you join the military?
So my dad really was the guiding factor. He was in for 20 years, served in the Air Force as well, and retired out of it. My initial plan was not to join the Air Force. I graduated high school, and that was not my plan at all. But I ended up going to college for a semester and a half, and I was like, nope, this is not it. This is not what I want to do with my life. I think I want to just get started with something. And I was like, let me try this out.
Your dad, was your dad super pumped, or was he like, no, don't do it?
Oh no, he was like, let's go to the recruiter now.
Oh, okay.
And my mom, she was not so much on board, but my dad was, they were both supportive. But we went right to the recruiter, and I joined at 18, and
wow.
Here I am 19 years later.
Wow. So growing up as a military kid, were you stationed all over the place? Did you travel a lot?
Not really, to be honest. My dad, well, I was born in Georgia, and then at a very young age, we moved to Florida. And then we were there for 9 years. And my dad, he did TDYs, and he was deployed, and he was gone, but then he would always come back to Florida. And then upon his retirement, he was like, you know what, I don't want to live in Florida anymore. Let's move to Colorado.
Okay.
And so I consider Colorado home just because
That's right.
That's where I've lived most of my life
Okay.
in Colorado.
Okay, nice. Yeah. So you joined the military, and you have traveled and been in different places. Mm-hmm. Where are some of the places that you've lived?
I've lived in Georgia, Korea, Colorado, Texas. I had a deployment to the Middle East, so all over. And now I live in Maryland, so past 5 years.
Okay. You said that you were a garage gym. This is something that is more rare with the 25 people that we've had so far. We've had a few. Obviously, a lot of our members come from CrossFit background, which you did for a short time. Mm-hmm. But you were already training at home before you started street parking.
Yeah.
So what took you, or what made you want to start training at home alone in the first place? Because, we get all the members in here, they're like, the pandemic, or whatever. You were doing that before.
Yeah.
You're a pioneer like we were, So what made that decision for you? And then what drew you to street parking, since you were already doing the at-home thing anyways?
Yeah, so I guess initially what drew me to working out in a garage gym by myself was the cost of street parking.
Yeah.
Not street parking. Street parking is very affordable. The cost of CrossFit, it was very expensive. I enjoyed the community of it, but it was just not.
This is when you were in Texas.
Yeah, so probably about before I had my son, so 2013, 2014.
Okay.
And having a young child at home and having to travel to the gym, I was like, you know what? I can just buy all this equipment, take that money I would spend on CrossFit and put it into my own garage gym, and then it'll pay for itself over time, which I'm wildly glad that I purchased all of that stuff before the pandemic.
Oh my gosh.
Because it got so expensive, But what drew me to street parking was, I always had a hard time figuring out what I was going to do for the workouts. Mm-hmm. So it was like using that mental power to.
Where were you just finding random workouts? Were you making them up? What were you doing?
I was just kind of like, I would Google stuff and I don't know. I haven't done legs in a while. Let me do some, front squats or whatever.
Yeah.
But when I moved to Maryland, one of my friends was like, hey, there's this street parking thing. You want to try this workout with me? And I was like, yeah. So did it, and I was sold right away.
Do you still work out with this person now in Maryland?
Every once in a while.
Okay.
But now I've kind of shifted to really just finding that inner joy from doing it. And so I go and I don't mind doing it on my own now.
It's very meditative.
It is.
I don't often work out completely alone. I am often the only person working out, but I'm not often in the garage by myself. Yeah. Whether it's other people who have just finished, like our staff or whatever, or our kids are running around or whatever. Mm-hmm. But I think that there is like such a meditative element to it if you actually are alone, and you can like choose your own music and all of that stuff, which I really enjoy. And I didn't think I would be somebody that would enjoy that. Mm-hmm. You moved from Texas to Maryland. Mm-hmm. And you started working out in your garage in Texas. How was that transition weather-wise? Because I know obviously in Texas it gets very hot. What part of Texas were you in?
West Texas, San Angelo.
So it gets very hot, which is its own struggle for sure.
Yeah.
But then you go to Maryland, and now in the middle of the winter it's freezing. I think one of the things that we see it actually, people will cancel their street parking memberships during the winter and then come back in the spring. Huh. And they're just like, I can't do it in the cold. How did you get around that?
I mean, honestly, like I don't mind. I can't say I was terribly consistent in Texas when I had my garage gym equipment.
Okay.
So it wasn't really something that I thought about. But when I moved to Maryland, I mean, yeah, it gets cold sometimes, but like sometimes I'll wear gloves. So
I mean, it gets really cold.
yeah, but I just power through it because once you start working out, you get warmed up. And I've done some workouts inside, so
For sure.
when it's like a little bit colder or whatever it may be, so I find ways around it. If there's running, which I hate, by the way, and you know that.
Yes. Yes.
I'll stay inside and do the rower.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you have 2 children. Your daughter is 7.
10.
Oh, sorry, 10. Your daughter is 10. And so what was your fitness like before having kids?
So I kind of did my own thing. And really when I first joined the Air Force, I didn't really know much about fitness, and didn't really know what I liked to do. So actually, in order to join the Air Force, I had to lose weight. So I think I was like 160 pounds. So not like crazy, right?
The whole BMI thing is a
and
little...
so it was like I had to be 150 to join, I think it was.
Okay.
That was a long time ago, So I actually did the Atkins diet. Yeah,
Great.
I see you shaking your head.
Great.
I know.
Good plan.
I don't recommend it, just to be fair. But yeah, I dropped the weight, and then I was able to go to basic training. And then at my first duty station, I shot up 40 pounds. I had gained a lot of weight, was working on shift work, first time away from home, didn't really know a lot about nutrition and fitness. And so it was just trying to figure out what it is that I like to do. And slowly over time, I found people that like to work out, and they kind of showed me the ropes. I would cut things out of my diet, like
Did all of that happen before you had your daughter, or
that was before?
After? Okay.
Yeah, so I joined in 2004, and then my daughter was born in 2012.
Okay.
So this is all pre-Evelyn.
Yeah. Well, what I really liked when you answered some of the questions that we had emailed you before was what it sounds like is what you were saying is you would meet somebody and it's very similar to what I find most people who have a lot of consistency, what their journey actually was. It wasn't, I did this 30-day challenge and I followed all the things, and then forever the rest of my life I stuck with all of them.
Right.
Even in my own personal life, it's like, I used to drink this massive 32-ounce soda, and then it became diet soda, and then it became soda water. You know what I mean? And it's like, but it's like that progression happened over years.
Right.
And it sounds like that something similar happened with you.
For sure. Yeah. It was not all at once, because I don't think I would have sustained that over time, but it was like, cut this one thing out and then get used to that, and then cut this other thing out and get used to that, and just start swapping things. So like, instead of white bread, I'll use wheat bread.
Right. It sounds, and then you mentioned that one of the things that catapulted that was a failed PT test.
Yeah. So that was when I was stationed in Georgia, when I had gained 40 pounds. I hated running the track in Georgia. It
Especially
was like,
in Georgia. Who wants to run in Georgia?
The track was like quicksand on one part. So, hating running on top of the track being not the best conditions, I failed my PT test. So
what's the protocol when that happens? Like, how long do you have to rectify that?
So I can't honestly remember. It's been so long. I think you have like 3 months to retake your test. But you're on a program. They put you on a fitness improvement program, and you're working out with someone like 5 days a week.
You have to. It's required now. Do you go and meet with somebody?
Yeah. So I was doing that, and it was like, run more running, do sit-ups and push-ups, and it was all just stuff that, I don't really enjoy doing it, And it was really just finding what it was that worked for me, that helped me because like I can crush my PT test now, my physical fitness test, and it's not because I'm sitting there running 5 days a week. It's because I'm lifting weights,
Right.
and doing sprints or rowing or whatever it may be.
When I used to be able to go to the military bases to do CrossFit seminars when I worked for CrossFit, it was always so interesting because oftentimes the people that they would send to the seminars would be their people with the highest PT scores.
Yeah.
And right away, it's like, I can see why these people were picked. Like they could run and do push-ups all day long, but squatting was terrible. Their overhead position was, I mean, because all they ever did was push-ups, so they could barely like lock out overhead, like all of this stuff. And but it was, they're like, oh, we sent you our fittest people. And it just there wasn't a lot of well-roundedness for sure. So when you got pregnant with your daughter, where were you in your fitness journey, and what was your habits and stuff like that like when you became a mom? Because that throws a wrench in everything.
Yeah, I wasn't really doing too much, to be honest.
Okay.
Like I lived in Colorado when she was born, so it was a lot of outdoor activities.
Okay.
I like to hike and walk, so it was like, let me throw her in a backpack and go on a hike somewhere, you know. But I wasn't really lifting weights at that point. It was just the normal, you know, running, push-ups kind of thing. And then outdoor activities that I enjoyed.
And then 2 years later, you had your son,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Roughly-ish.
2.5.
And how long after he was born did you find more like CrossFit style training and start doing some of that stuff?
Oh, so it was actually between. So,
Okay.
Yeah. My daughter was born, and then that was in 2012. In 2013, we moved to Texas, and I was like, you know what? I think I need to start doing something, and found the CrossFit gym there. And it was like, I think 2014, right before I was pregnant with my son, that I got into it. And then
Did you do it throughout your pregnancy with him?
I didn't.
That's okay.
Just because I was pretty sick with him a lot. Yeah, he gave me a lot of morning sickness in the first trimester.
Yeah.
So
No,
it was
that's
hard.
okay.
Yeah, I was shot.
And then after, how was it getting back into it?
It was actually not too bad. So at that time we had 6 weeks to get back into a fitness.
Really?
Yeah.
This is at the military.
So they gave us 6 weeks.
That could be another episode.
To be prepared. Yeah.
They're not like PT testing you at 6 weeks, are they?
Yeah.
After you have a baby?
Yeah. If you're due. Yep. So, yeah.
What do you mean if you're due?
So, we have our fitness test due once a year or every 6 months, depending on what your score is.
Okay.
So,
if it's a really great score, you can go once a year. If it's on the edge, you got to go every 6 months. Okay.
So after pregnancy, it was like, okay, it's been 6 weeks. Now you need to take your fitness test.
So it's like, okay, the fitness test for the Air Force, what is it? Or at least what was it at the time?
1.5 miles, push-ups and sit-ups. And
sit-ups.
Then at that time, it was a waist tape.
And they'll have the postpartum moms do the sit-ups? Do we need to
even?
I feel like this
so
needs
it's
to
changed.
change.
It's changed.
I'm like
then.
sweating.
No, they've changed it. They've given us a year post-pregnancy now.
Okay,
so
that's 6 weeks. That's
significantly changed it. But I had to get back into it pretty fast.
Wow.
After I had my son and my daughter.
Okay,
So,
but you went back into like CrossFit style training after your son was born.
yeah, I did.
That's great. That's good. Wow. A year, not quite a year ago, July of last year, where I saw your story for the first time, and you had been a member for a while, and I'm sure that you had been active in the community and everything, but your son was on a trip with his dad. Do you want to, I'll let you tell the story because my interpretation, I don't want to say anything incorrect.
All right. Yeah. So I'm divorced. So my son, both my kids were on a vacation with their father, and I was on vacation in Hawaii at the time. And I got a call from my mother-in-law. I still call her my mother-in-law, that my son had been in a drowning accident. So I didn't really know much at that point, just besides he had drowned, and he was at the hospital, right? And then I got another call that they were not able to resuscitate him. So in an instant, my whole world changed. So I flew back to the States and quickly, like, we worked through everything. And then the JVM challenge came up, and I decided I was going to participate just because I wanted something to focus on. And it kind of gave me a sense of belonging and purpose. And so I signed up, and I was like, I'm going to do this. And that's when I started posting about my story, just because it felt kind of cathartic to share that story with people. It felt kind of nice to share it with people who don't know me, just because I don't know why, it just felt like
I
the right
totally
thing
get
to
it.
do.
I'm the same way. It's harder to share almost with people that for some reason. I don't really know I'm sure there's some sort of psychology explanation for it, but
Yeah, so I started posting, and I did my workouts, and it was not very intensive, my workouts. I did what I could, but I was like, I can't let my team down. I'm here for the Guyos. So that really got me through that tough the first moments of what had happened.
I think, it's just one of those stories that if you're a parent is it just hits you that just you never know whether you're a parent or not. We all have people that we love, obviously. Yeah. And you just wonder what would I be like in that situation? How would I respond to this? And you don't really know until you're in it. I don't think anybody could predict how they would respond to something like that. I think that to be honest, when you were posting during JVM at first, I was worried. I was like, should she be doing this? Like, should she? I don't want people or her to feel like she needs to keep posting about it because now people expect her to, that's the last thing she needs is any pressure from other people. Yeah. But I think you inspired so many people, and there's no expectation for you to do that or for anyone in the community to share and do that unless they really want to and it's helping them. But I know for me personally, I was just like, what excuse could I possibly have? Like, what could I be going through? Like, Leanne is over here doing her best to keep moving. I can't even imagine like what she's thinking about before and during and after, because like it's a form of meditation. We were joking around earlier about how I'm an Enneagram 4. So I'll turn anything into like some dramatic story in my head. But I think through things a lot of times when I'm working out, especially if I do get to work out alone and it's a workout that's just like a rowing interval or something like that. Did you find yourself doing that? Like, were you processing things when you were working out, or were you checking out? Because I think that there can be both, and both can be beneficial.
I would say I would say there was a lot of processing happening. He's always on my mind, right? And even in my gym, I have a picture of him right there on the mirror, and so when I get to a tough moment in my workout, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I look up and I see his picture and I'm like, okay, there he is. He's with me, and I keep going. And it was, times when I just didn't want to get up, and I would just think about him, and it was like, you got this, mama, like you can do this. And so I would be like, yeah, okay, I got it.
Was he around very often when you would work out before?
He would, yeah. They did a couple of workouts with me. It wasn't ever a lot.
Right.
I do have a picture of him holding some 10-pound plates, and he looks pretty jacked in it. But I got them like 5-pound dumbbells to do with me. My daughter doesn't work out with me, but they would come in the gym. And
They would be around.
Yeah, they
and
would
see it.
normally like I'd open the garage gym up and they would
Yeah.
play outside and I would do my workout and they'd be like, "Mom, can we go do this?" And I'd be like sweating, pouring sweat, like, yeah, taking a breath, like, okay, this is a nice break.
Yeah.
All right, I got it.
Right?
You guys got it.
And I think that was one of the things that really hit home to me too. I think I even did a post about it without mentioning you specifically, is when when my kids would interrupt me shortly after that happened and you were sharing your story, it was just like, oh man, you like it's hard to say like, oh, you should be happy your kids are interrupting you. That means they're okay and they're healthy. Like that, you can't always be
gets
that positive
frustrating,
like that.
yeah.
But there were times around when you were sharing that story, and still now it's impacted me like forever. I will remember Elijah as well, because I have 3 sons.
Yeah.
And so it's remembering like, hey, these moments can be frustrating and whatever, but you're so lucky to have them. So I just wanted to thank you for sharing that story, but also remind you that there's no pressure at all to continue sharing it or do with it whatever. And anybody who's listening who has similarly, because we see a lot of stories, whether it's parents of children who have cancer or people who have had like stillbirths or, I mean, with 35,000 people, it's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of real life happening and
Absolutely.
people love to share on our Facebook group. I also think that seeing you continue to take care of yourself has got to be so important for your daughter. Do you think about that?
Yeah. So I do this for me and I continue working out for me because it not only helps my physical strength, but like it really has helped my mental strength because it's like, the serotonin or whatever that helps improve your mood and really just this is something that I do for me and it helps me continue going on and I do the things that I do for both of my kids still and so it's like I want to be here. I want to be the best mom that I can be for Evelyn and just show her like that mom's still showing up for herself. Mom's still showing up for her and just digging down and finding that strength through working out. Something that I love doing.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like because I've been in the fitness industry for 20 years and it hasn't been until recently where you could actually say, because they're coming out more and more and more with concrete studies that regular exercise is just as powerful as antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. And I mean, there's been a lot of stuff about that recently. And it's something that we've always, those of us that are in the fitness industry or who have experienced it know, but it's been hard to try to encourage that in people. And I'm not saying that, I mean, if you're prescribed that kind of stuff that you should definitely keep taking it and listen to your doctor, but there is, it is powerful to do that. The other thing I was going to say about, with what you're showing your daughter, and it's something that's important to us too, is, even if you never said anything to her about it, or she didn't, because she's only 10, she didn't maybe realize it at the time, there will be a point where she's an adult where consciously or subconsciously she will have taken in watching how you dealt with something that was so hard and like be able to apply that in her own life. Because I think kids, I mean, they see that. It's like, oh, when something hard happens, this is what we do. We go, and we just shut down and shut ourselves in our room. And I'm sure you've had days like that and everything for sure. But in general, you've done such, from our perspective, I mean, again, I don't know what I would be like in that situation, but I'm just proud of you and appreciate you so much with that.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you also lost your grandma and like a friend like recently in this last year too.
Yeah.
And I only bring this up because you mentioned that you were listening to like a specific Brene Brown a book or
Yeah, her
her live.
special on HBO.
Yes, because you mentioned it in the email, and obviously it meant enough to you to mention it. I wanted you to be able to talk about it a little bit here for anyone who might be struggling. If that helped you, maybe it will help them as well. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So last year was just a terrible year. My grandmother passed away in February, late February, from dementia.
Okay.
So, we saw her deteriorating, and I was able to be with her at the end. A couple days later, my friend from the military, she had passed away after having a brain aneurysm the year prior. So, it was just one thing after the other, and then a couple months later, I lost Elijah. So the Brene Brown thing that I was watching, it's Atlas of the Heart from her recent book about different emotions and things like that. She was talking about her dissertation titled accompagnar, which means to walk alongside. So, she mentions how, you go through life and these things happen, and when these things happen, you find these people that will walk alongside you through that. It's like not anybody holding you, not anybody pushing you or anything like that. It's they're
Right.
walking alongside you and going through this with you, and rather than looking away, they will look you in the eyes and be there for you. So I would say just find those people that are going to continue walking alongside you and helping you through that journey, whatever it looks like. Because, we don't know when this stuff happens, how we're going to respond to it. And like, I don't wish this upon anybody, and it's the people that have been by my side that have kind of let me grieve the way that I need to grieve and just kind of be there in it with me.
How do you said that you still think about him and obviously talk about him, or how do you think about him now? Like, what is it? Do you talk, like, I'll give you an example, and this is not at all the same thing because it was my dog, but I talk to him still, like, and we just put him to sleep a couple months ago, but there's like little things that will remind me, and I'll be like, hey Midge, and I actually like out loud speak to him. So
Yeah.
do you have any, and I hate to use the word advice because the last thing I feel like people want to do in these situations is give advice, because everybody's situation and how they should be handling it is so different. But what are some ways of staying connected to him, I guess is what I'm asking you for, have helped you?
So I mean, I do talk to him every once in a while through prayer or whatever. We go visit him at the cemetery, and we'll take him like little Lego like things that we've built, and we have a little like memorial place in our house that we walk by every day, and it's really just kind of remembering who he was. And it's tough because I have this duality of who I am now, and it's like, yeah, I can be happy in these moments, but I'm also sad because it's, well, I'm having fun making these new memories with my daughter, but what would it be like if my son were here? And that's constantly going through my head. But I would say, it's not advice by any means, because everybody's going to do what works for them. But what I've done is just be present in those moments, be there for my daughter and enjoy it, but also be okay with being sad, because, it wasn't just his life that was lost. It was, what his future would have been and what my future would have been, and my daughter's future. So it's just, I think back to a lot of his memories, and beyond that, like we've created a nonprofit in his name.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. So you're doing this year a 5K, correct, in Maryland. Talk a little bit about that in case people want to help support that.
Sure. So we created a nonprofit, the Elijah Britt Memorial Fund. It was a long name. I think that was it. But we wanted to honor him in a way that kind of spoke to him. And he did Taekwondo, so he had just earned his yellow belt before he passed. And we wanted to take the funds that we made from the nonprofit and fund a scholarship for a child to attend Taekwondo classes and just kind of do something that he enjoyed.
How can people support it if they don't? So the race is in Maryland. When is it?
It's May 29th on Memorial Day, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where?
In Ellicott City, Maryland.
Is there like a website or anything for it?
Yes, it's on Run Sign Up, but
we can post about it. We can and make sure to put it in the. I actually recently, it won't be this episode will come out in actually I think this episode comes out after that. Is there a way for people to support the nonprofit even after the race and if they're not participating in the 5K?
Yeah, so we did create a Venmo.
Okay.
That if people want to donate,
we'll make sure to put it up the week of your vault because I think this actually comes out maybe after that.
Okay.
So we'll make sure that people can help out with that because I think that's really cool to get another kid in Taekwondo and support somebody who might not be able to afford it otherwise.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, okay. So now all of that is making just day-to-day life challenging, and everybody can imagine that for sure. You also have this full house living situation that you're working with in your current life. So explain a little bit about that and how you're working in your fitness and your schedule and all of that now.
Sure. So my brother is also in the Air Force, and he was not stationed in Maryland. So the Air Force was able to move him on my behalf so that we could be there in support for each other.
Great.
Which is amazing. It doesn't happen very often. We had to go through a lot of paperwork and a lot of
they
signatures.
brought his family over to help be with you and support you.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
And to support him as well. So they moved out from North Dakota to Maryland at the beginning of this year, and we all decided to move into a giant house together, and it is kind of like a full house.
And they have kids too?
They do. My nephew's 12, and my niece is 6.
Okay.
So, they say like, you don't know what's going to happen in these situations. And it was like, yeah, let's do this. Let's support each other because we're going to need to be there for each other anyways.
Yes.
So why not just
all live in the same house.
Consolidate, and we can just support each other through this. And so we do family dinners and everything.
Wow. Do you ever get them to do the workouts with you?
I do.
That's good. That's good.
So they're not street parking members, but I'm like, hey, I'm going to the gym.
No, that's okay.
Anybody wants to join me? Come on. And so
wow.
They've done several of the vaults with me, and just they get pretty upset sometimes. Like, man, I can't believe you made us do that.
They're like, never again. And then like 3 weeks later, they're like, okay,
they
fine.
They still do it, yeah. We just did the kettlebell box jump one. So.
Oof. You mentioned that you have no real set schedule now. It kind of changes, but you mostly do the daily workouts with a little bit, some of the accessories mixed in here and there. Are you mostly a one workout a day person now?
Generally, yeah. I try to get about 5 workouts in a week. I've started to incorporate a lot more of the rowing stamina, but yeah.
I'm like so close to being done with that thing. I always joke that I'm on week 100 of the 42-week rowing program. Yes.
Yeah. So my brother, he likes to row as well. We have 2 rowers.
So that's how you hook him.
Yeah. But I get them to jump in on the other workouts. But yeah, I normally do the daily workouts, and Like I do rooster crew sometimes, and it just depends on what my schedule is that day. When I have to go into work, if I have meetings or whatever, sometimes I can leave work early and bully my family into working out with me.
We were talking before we started recording about what you might do after retirement, and I love what your plan is. And actually, you have a degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Already.
Yep.
So you went from not being really active, allowing yourself to get 40 pounds overweight and failing the PT test, and then slowly chipping away at these habits to where, what are you planning on doing after you retire?
Yeah, so I kind of found a passion for fitness and working out, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get my degree in something that I enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have my bachelor's in health and wellness, and retiring in a year now, and I want to get my personal trainer certification and just kind of help people figure out what works for them.
Yes.
Because it's not a one-stop shop, like
Yes.
running push-ups, sit-ups, that's not
Yes.
going to work for everybody. But yeah, finding what works for me has kind of given me a passion for helping other people find what works for them and just do that and get to a place where they can be healthy and continue on their life journey.
Is there anything specific that's come through the street parking like program or messaging that has stood out to you the most as something that's helped you through your fitness journey, through what you've gone through the last year and a half, that you will take with you as a trainer that's really important and you feel like people need to like hear? Or
So I would say there are a couple of things that I love about street parking, and one is the community, which
Mm-hmm.
is crazy to me because it's like none of us are together, right? Like
Right.
But the way that the community is so connected has been amazing. And I talked about
were you super active on the pages before Elijah passed?
not really. I have my Instagram that's
Okay.
for my fitness stuff.
Okay.
And then I wasn't too active on the
Okay.
Facebook pages, but yeah.
Okay. But you've really like gained this sense of community through the last like year and a half or so.
Mhm, yeah. So it
Or
was
year,
like,
I guess.
yeah. Just the way that this community has come together has been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And, the staff as well. Just the way that you guys rally behind your members and are there for them has been amazing. And like, I was talking to the other Vault members here for this group, and it was like, you can just meet somebody. Like we all just met this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and we're pretty tight already,
Oh my gosh, when
know?
you came walking through the door, I just started sobbing uncontrollably because I've thought about you so much, and you've impacted me so much. I just was so happy to finally see you in person.
Yeah. And it was like, I've known you, and we gave each other a giant hug, and it felt normal and great, like it wasn't like, who is a stranger hugging me?
Right.
It was like, okay, like Miranda knows my story, and like this means something, you know? So that community has really just been fantastic throughout this whole thing. So I would say find someone that is there for you and can push you to work towards your goals, as well as the more than nothing has been a really great mantra from you guys, especially through this loss and all of that. Is you don't have to do a lot, because I wasn't doing a lot. It was like I'm wearing pajamas and no shoes, but let me get this done for my JVM challenge.
Right.
Let me go out into the garage and just get it done. And I was doing shift and even scaling back shift.
Right.
Because I was like, I have to do something. But it was more than nothing, and eventually over time I was finding that consistency and building up my strength, building up my mental stamina as well. And getting to where I am now, like not 9 months later.
The community part is so important, and I think can be so powerful during times when you need it. But I also like one of the other things that you mentioned in your email, which was that you've really learned through training in your garage to rely on yourself, because ultimately that's the only person that you know for sure will be there your entire life. You know what I mean? And how has that helped you just in your life in general?
Well, I don't know. I'm a people person. I'm an extrovert, so I really just find joy in being around people. So for me to get to a place where I'm like, you know what, I just need to do this for myself has been kind of a journey. So, you know, I'm really glad that I've been able to just find that joy and do this thing for me. It's not for anybody else. It's like, all right, Leanne, this is your time and you're going to do this. If anybody else wants to come and join me, like my family, cool, I'm on board with it. But if they don't come, like, I'm still doing this for me. And I think that's just been I don't know, like a weird shift in my mindset. I don't know that weird's the right word, but I guess I'm kind of proud of myself that I've been able to make that shift into doing this for me rather than anybody else.
That's really great. I want to end our chat by letting people know about Elijah's workout. Because we created a workout for him. So if you didn't see, I know a lot of people did it last year. Do you remember off the top of your head what it is? Because I don't. I probably should have written it down. But we can post it when this comes out. Do you plan on doing that on July 13th of this year, or when do you celebrate that and do his workout?
So I was actually planning on doing it. His birthday's coming up on April 28th.
Okay.
So I was thinking about getting my family together and doing that and probably posting about it as well if anybody else wanted to join.
What's your Instagram? Because if this episode comes out after that, I'm sure you'll post about it maybe on your Instagram and post what the workout is because we created his workout for him.
Yep.
I know it ends with a run.
Yeah,
That's the only part that I remember because I had to explain to you, like, before you get mad, just let me explain the run.
So I remember there was Bear Complex.
Right.
There was Atlas Lunges.
Yes, and we chose the movements because they were all big like superheroes because he loved that kind of stuff. That's right.
And then you ended it with a run. Knowing that I hate running, you were like, I know that you don't like running, but I wanted to put this in here because, it's something difficult that you can do and you can think about him while you're doing it, which I thought was great. And I was like, well, I can't be mad at her for this. My Instagram is Britt Getting Fit. So
okay, so if this episode comes out after that, and you want to go check out what his workout is and celebrate his life, she'll have it on theirs, and we'll probably put it on the Facebook group around that time as well. And I'll do it for him, for sure. Your family is special. Elijah has changed my life as a mom, and I think about him all the time, and I'm constantly reminded of him in my boys because I see Knox and his little Guy, and those are the pictures that I've seen of Elijah and everything. So thank you for sharing him with us. He's so special, and he won't ever be forgotten. And you're special, and you won't ever be forgotten either. And we're super pumped. I can't wait to see your workout and see you crush it. And just excited to have you here. So thank you for coming. And make sure you guys check out Leanne's workout in a few days.
Thank you.